In this video, I'm going to give you my manifestation checklist, which is 10 steps that you can take to get whatever you want in 2025 and for the rest of your life. Now, if you're wondering, does manifesting actually work, or is this just something that everyone talks about on social media, or it's just a gimmick? I can tell you that I have personally used my own checklist in my life, and I'm also using it right now to manifest something. And I'll explain in this video why manifestation isn't just magic like some people think it is. There's actually a lot of science to prove that these techniques actually work. Hi, I'm Emmy, and welcome to L3 Philosophy, where I share tools to help you transform your life and better help you L3, which is to love yourself, love your relationships, and love your life, especially through challenges, life's transitions, and times of uncertainty. So let's get right into the topic for today. So, the first time that I was introduced to the concept of manifestation was so many years ago, over a decade ago, maybe, I don't know, 15 years or something. And the first time that I was introduced to the idea was reading the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Super classic. So many people have read it because it's got so many great nuggets of wisdom in there. So, as I was reading it, I felt this deeper, like much deeper sense of curiosity about life and how life all works. And I became really, really fascinated with what could be and what is this game of life. And it unlocked this curiosity in me. And I couldn't wait to get home every day after work and just start reading about it more and more and more. And so the more I learned about people who have been through all walks of life and even in different periods of time, that have used these manifestation techniques, they've used them to become so super successful, or maybe they've created a huge impact on their communities or society. And it truly opened my eyes so wide, like a kid who has just seen something amazing. And it made me think, wait, you can actually do this? And that's how I felt while I was reading it. It was this kind of state of like, wow. And I couldn't wait to learn more. And so I started reading lots of other books that talked about manifestation, but also related topics having to do with energy, the law of attraction, which is very similar to manifestation, and then spiritual alchemy, and just trying to put all these puzzle pieces together. I started with books like You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. I read The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, and years later, Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And these are just a handful of books that are out there. A book that I currently have on my list to read is The Power of Eight by Lynn McTaggart, and it talks about the power of intention, where experiments were conducted with groups of people who were all kind of holding an intention together. So the point of all of these is like focused energy, and how can we transform our thoughts and our desires into something real? That's essentially what manifesting is. Now, at the same time that I was reading all of these books and becoming familiar with this topic, I was also binging on YouTube interviews on this channel called Impact Theory. It's a super, super popular channel that you might have seen. But at the time, Tom Bilyeu, the host, was highlighting very successful and driven people's lives. And I was really fascinated by their stories because most of them started from really, really low or challenging points in their life, maybe even the lowest point in their life, but yet they had an idea. And all they needed was this idea and that they believed that they could create something out of it. And most of them didn't even know how they were going to achieve the idea that they had at the time, but they eventually did it. And they did it in even greater proportions than they could have ever imagined. So as I watched interview after interview after interview and was just like really, really wanting to learn how did these people do it? Because at the time I was in a really tumultuous relationship, going through breakup after breakup with the same person, and I was in a really low space. And so I was like, how did these people pick themselves up from this low place to just blowing up and having the life of their dreams? And so I noticed that there were a lot of commonalities between all of them as people and in their stories. And here are four that I'll share with you right now. So, one, they all seem to have a greater purpose bigger than themselves in what they were creating. Number two, they were obsessed with making their idea turn into a reality. They eat, breathe, sleep, drink it. Okay. It's all they were focusing on. Number three, they all seem to have a very clear understanding of the power of the mind, intention, and energetic focus. And then number four, they were all using pillars of manifestation or some form of it. So many of the principles and practices of manifestation have actually been around for centuries and originated from ancient times. I think there's a pretty common misconception that manifestation is just woo-woo or it's magic. And I did title the last chapter of my memoir Manifestation Magic because that is kind of what it feels like when you're getting everything that you want. You have this idea and you're like, oh my gosh, but like I'll probably never be able to have that. And then you do. So there's a lot of steps along the way that is a process that you can go through in order to make your dreams a reality. So there's also been numerous scientific studies conducted, full books written on these topics, like the ones I've mentioned, and so many more that demonstrate that we as humans, as well as all other living things, animals, plants, even, yeah, living things, um, they we're all energetic beings. And so we have a lot more power in our minds, our bodies, and over our whole lives than we are probably aware of. And I'm sharing with you today my checklist to help you with 10 steps that are not necessarily easy, but they are straightforward. Like it's a process that you can follow because most of the time, what we want requires some kind of personal transformation. So that might be the hard part. But the steps are straightforward and you can follow them to make something that you really, really want become a reality. So, here it is, the 10-step checklist to manifest what you want in 2025 and for the rest of your life. You can use these strategies forever. So, number one for manifesting anything is that you must place an order to the universe. You need to ask for what you want or clearly state what it is that you want. And it needs to be really, really specific and really clear. I did go into some of this in my video, What They Don't Tell You About Making a Vision Board, how to make a vision board that actually works in 2025. So I do recommend that you go and watch that because I go into this a little more deeply. But I recommend that you write down every aspect of your desire, whatever it is that you're trying to bring in the most detail as possible. So, some things to be aware of when you're in this phase is that your desires might not come to you in the way that you imagine. But that's okay because what you're doing is you're activating your imagination. So, when you're writing out what you want in detail, it's a lot less about for example, like let's say you're trying to manifest a partner, because I did this when I was trying to do that, and I'll use that example throughout this whole video. So I did include, characteristics and attributes, but the theme of everything I was writing down had a lot more to do with how I wanted to feel in a relationship with a partner, what we were doing. We were laughing, the kinds of interactions that we would have. How did I feel when I was with this person? So, yes, I was talking about some of the characteristics about the kind of partner I wanted, but it was a lot less of kind of a checklist and more of a scenario, it's almost like you're picturing this movie in your mind. So this activates your imagination and it basically opens up your energy and your mind to expansion, to ideas and things that are outside of what you might see in your everyday life. The second thing about this first step, which is placing your order, is that you need to stay open and actually listen and pay attention to signs and clues and self-intuitive messages for what your next steps need to be in order to create this reality. So these are truly everywhere and there's nothing woo-woo about it. It's just paying attention to what shows up in your life, what's working, what's not working, and connecting to your own intuition about what you should do next. And so, one kind of funny story for me that I've noticed in my life, and I've only noticed this more recently, like within the past year, is that when I ask the universe for help with something, I usually ask for someone to help me. Like I'm usually like, can you please send someone to help me with this, right? Sometimes I'll ask for ideas and I will get them, but a lot of times I'll ask like to please send a person to help me with this. And when this person does show up, I am usually like annoyed or aggravated by this person. Like this person tends to be like persistent in either wanting to talk to me or wanting to work with me or sending me lots of emails. And I'm just like, oh, like why won't this person leave me alone? And then I'll realize, oh, this is the person who was sent here to help me with a certain thing. And I've noticed this happen actually many, many times. And I do have an example. Um, there was a man that I had met through a virtual job that I had for a little while. And, initially I found him a little bit abrasive. I was like, it's not someone who I would have chosen to interact with like on a regular basis or anything, if it hadn't been for the job that I was working on with him. And, he would send me a lot of emails and like want to bounce ideas around. And I'm like, dude, like, what do you want? And then it turns out that I mentioned one day, that I had been struggling with learning sales. I was a teacher for 16 years and I had no experience with sales and anything related to that in business. And it just so happened that he is an expert in sales. He's had extensive sales training. That was actually one of his main jobs. And he ran his own business as well. And so he offered to actually meet with me on Zoom week after week after week for months and just gave me all of his sales training and knowledge. He even practiced like, role-playing sales calls with me. And he didn't charge me anything. We did have an exchange. I am a breakup and relationship coach, so I offered him relationship coaching sessions in exchange. But at the time, I didn't have the finances to invest in help getting someone to help me with sales. So this is an example of how when you put something out there, it might not come to you in the form that you're expecting. It came in the form of me not having to pay for it with money, just giving my time of a service that I enjoy doing anyway, which is the relationship coaching. And also it was in the form of a person who, initially I was like a little bit, not aggravated by, but just like, almost like, what do you want? Go away, right? And I've noticed this happen many times. So that's just like a fun little anecdote to help you understand that, you got to stay open to who's coming into your sphere because it could be the help that you're asking for, or the person that's going to help connect you to the thing or the experience that you want. All right. Step number 2 to manifest what you want is that you must visualize and feel every detail of your desire. You have to involve your senses, all 5 of your senses if possible, and your imagination in the visualization process, and you need to do it consistently. It's not, I mean, some people say like, oh, you just do it once and then it's that, they say, and it is so, right? It's out there, it's going to happen. And I agree with that to some extent, but I also think that the more often you can visualize and immerse yourself in the experience of having the thing that you want, the more real it feels to you. And just keep in mind that you're not doing this in like a needy way or a way that's like gripping, like I must have this thing. That's actually a bad energy. That's like a scarcity, that's an attachment, and you don't want that. You want this free flowing, like, yeah, we're co-creating together. I have super faith that this is all going to happen, and I'm just like riding the wave of the process. When I was making my vision board, which I talk about in my other YouTube video, I was visualizing. So after I did step one, which was I wrote out page and page and page and page of things that I wanted in a relationship. Then I visualized it very frequently. And then I also turned it into a vision board. So it was something that I could actually see all the time. Like, this is how I want my relationship to feel. So this is a daily practice. If you want something to manifest in your life, you essentially have to become obsessed with it. Like, meaning your focus must be on it at least once a day. So you're not overly attached, but you're focusing and you're feeling as if it's already there. So it's all about the vibe that you're holding, the vibration. Energy is a vibration, and it can't be one of scarcity. Energy functions as like attracts like. So we want to be in a high vibe state. We want to be positive. We want to be happy. And it's not like fake emotions of happy and positivity. You really, really want to try to use your imagination so that you can feel the feelings of what it would be like if it was already here. Okay, step three of how to manifest what you want into your life is to take inspired action. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make or misconceptions is that you can just sit around and meditate or visualize all day and you don't actually have to do anything. It's just going to fall in your lap or show up on your doorstep. And that could be farther from the truth. You must take small inspired actions every single day. Every moment that you take another step is a moment that you get closer to your desired reality. You can plan out as much as you can or know for what your very next steps could be, but don't worry about having a plan for the whole entire thing. Maybe you have no idea how you're going to get to from point A to point B. The only important thing for you to know is what your very next steps need to be. And then you're tuning into your intuition to figure out what your next steps can be. Or maybe, you're paying attention to people who come into your life who have more experience in something, and you're going to maybe, take their advice or ask them to be your mentor. So you want to act on impulses that you get that feel aligned. You don't want to act on impulses that seem like they're coming from a stressful place, like, oh, I got to figure out what to do next, and it's stressful. Usually that leads you astray. You want to make sure that you're in a calm, grounded, peaceful state. If you're getting like information about what to do next, that's a great time to kind of trust that. That's usually your intuition speaking to you. Back when I was trying to pull in this ideal partner at the time, this was many years ago, I had to take action. Like, a lot of people will say, well, I can't control who I meet. Like, if I don't meet anybody when I'm out, like, there's nothing I can really do about that, which is true in a sense, but there are actions you can still be taking to help you transform into the partner that you need to be in order to attract the partner that you want to have. And you might think, well, I'm already that partner. And you are probably already magnificent and wonderful, but there's always something that we can be learning more about ourselves. And so for me, my actions looked like continuing to do, really deep, sometimes hard, challenging inner work to heal my heart from the past, to make sure that I was emotionally available, to make sure that I was working toward a place of self-love. And I also had to put myself out there on dating apps and actually go out on dates in order to meet this person that I met. And these were some of the actions that I was taking while letting the process of manifestation unfold. By the way, if you are finding this content helpful, then please like and subscribe to this channel, as I am trying to manifest 1,000 subscribers in the next 3 months. And so this is an example of me taking an action, which is step 3, which is asking you to subscribe, comment, or like, or share this channel with someone who you think might find it helpful. So thank you in helping me with my manifestation goals. And another thing is that if you want to see all of this information in written form, then I have a blog and a newsletter. And basically, it's like I took all the notes for you and you can read it. It's called L3 Philosophy, and you can go ahead and subscribe over on Substack. I put the link in the description. You'll get weekly transformational tools. And if you are a paid subscriber, transformation action plans on every single tool that you can implement right away. So that link is in the description. All right. Step number 4 for manifesting what you want is check to see if there are any conflicts or blocks with your order. So, what I mean by this is figure out how to remove and release any of these blocks. For many of us, this comes down to having limiting beliefs or things from the past that we haven't let go of yet that are actually blocking what we're trying to attract. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to manifest a new house or a new home, and you're going to all this trouble finding, all of your design boards on Pinterest. You're visioning what being in your new home is going to be like, and you're doing all the things I just told you about. But you are also complaining about how much trouble it's going to be to move. You're feeling the stress of having to pack up all of your stuff and move. Like moving is a big deal, right? So that's a conflicting order because the universe is like, do you want a new home or do you not? Because it sounds like you really just are kind of too lazy to move out of your house, right? Like it's too much trouble for you. So which one is it? And that is the thing about a lot of our orders is that we have these conflicting messages going out energetically. And so we have to make sure we remove those. So an example of removing this one would be preparing to actually move and being happy about it. Maybe you start going through your things and getting rid of things you don't want anymore, and you're doing it happily. You're like, wow, I remember this blanket from when I was at camp, and I have so many memories from it. And you know what? I love those memories, and now I'm ready to let go of this blanket. And you're doing it with joy, right? Maybe you're packing up your things in your house and you're starting to label boxes and you're like, I can't wait to see all of this stuff in my new kitchen. Okay, so you're having a good vibe about it, and it's in alignment with what you're trying to create, not resisting it. Another example, I said I'm a breakup and relationship coach, and so I see this one all the time, and it's limiting beliefs around dating or like the ability to attain a new partner. So I hear people say like, "Oh, there's no good men or women out there," or "I don't know if I'll ever be able to love again or be happy again." And so, where these feelings and thoughts and beliefs are very real, trust me, I understand. I've been there and I've had those feelings myself. Where those are real feelings, those are also blocking you from getting closer to what you want. So, the actions that you need to take is to do the inner work to process through those thoughts and emotions, to allow yourself to let them go and replace them with new narratives that are really supportive for you and what you're trying to create. Okay. Step number 5 of manifesting what you want is to change or make space physically and energetically in your house through feng shui and or the vibes of the people that you're surrounding yourself with and or the environments that you're hanging out in. So let's say you're trying to attract a new partner into your life, but your schedule is so busy that you don't even know when you would have an opportunity to go on a date with somebody. Well, that's not really preparing yourself for what you want, right? Like a lot of people say they want a relationship, but then they don't prioritize it. And I'm not saying this is you. Maybe you're doing everything, but I'm just using this as an example. So in this person's case, right? They're like, oh, I'm so swamped with work. Like, I don't even know when I'll be able to talk to this person. Start just thinking about it in your mind. Like, how would I rearrange my schedule to be able to make time for a partner who I really, really want to show that is a priority? Well, maybe I could move, my Wednesday night meetings to Thursday mornings and we could have Wednesday night date nights or, whatever it is for you. Just really start thinking how that person would fit into your life. Another thing that I did when I was trying to attract a partner at the time, I'll just kind of stick with that example, was I used to sleep with all of my bed pillows just stacked up beside me, in the space where the other person would sleep. And it would just like this be this wall of pillows. And then I finally started taking all of the pillows off the bed every single night. So energetically and physically, I was making space for a partner to be able to sleep next to me. Another thing that I mentioned is being aware of who you are surrounding yourself with and the environments that you're putting yourself in. So, if you want to move up the chain at work, for example, start hanging out with people who have executive level jobs. If you want to become the best cook or the best chef, start hanging out with people who have culinary talents. Actively seek out mentors who have already done the thing that you want. If you want a certain type of car, find other people who have the car and start asking them questions about it. What do they like about it? What do they dislike? What are some upgrades? If maybe you can join an enthusiast club of all these people who like the same car. I don't know. I'm sure it exists. Everything is out there if you look hard enough. But the point is that it's really important for you to surround yourself with the things, the people, and the environments that are similar to what it is that you're trying to bring in. Number six is stay focused. We have no idea how long it is going to take for our dreams and desires to manifest, but we just have to have faith that the process is happening. And as I said, a lot of times there's a lot of self-transformation that is required for us to have the thing we want. And so sometimes that takes time. It doesn't have to take a long time, but sometimes it does. So we have to stay focused on continuing to do our practices every single day, continue to take our small actions every single day, and be patient with how the universe is arranging things to happen in our lives, because a lot of times it involves other people and their lives as well. So as an example of that, again, when I was trying to manifest a partner, I was very picky about how far I wanted to drive to go on a date with somebody. And basically, I decided like I'm not driving more than 30 minutes to go on a date with someone. Well, the person that I met ended up living almost exactly 30 minutes from me, but he had just moved from a town that was an hour away. So the universe was arranging, his move. Like maybe it took a while because he hadn't moved closer to me yet. And when I set my dating parameters, like he was outside of that. So it's just an example of how there are lots of cogs in motion to make the whole machine work. Another thing that you need to do is when you're staying focused, you need to be really clear about what it is that you want. Like if you're flip-flopping back and forth at all, then that is also sending mixed messages to the universe, and it's going to make it take a lot longer for you to get what you want. Again, it is not your job to know how or how long it's going to take to get whatever it is that you want. It is only your job to know what you want and also to have faith and know that it's coming and also to continue taking action. So another example of this was when I got my first teaching job. So I had decided in college that I was going to be a teacher. I didn't really know anything about it aside from the fact that I had to graduate from college and get a bachelor's degree, and that I would eventually need a master's degree. I decided that I wanted to get my degrees and schooling over with before I got my job, so I went straight through school. But basically, my point of telling you this is like I decided I am going to be a teacher and I am going to get a job teaching. So I just started taking the steps. Like I didn't start my journey with like looking for teaching jobs before I had my degree. No, I took the next logical step of what would get me there. And so, I completed my college, I completed my master's, and as soon as I was done with my master's degree, here's another example of a person who was in my life that I was annoyed by, but ended up being the conduit for me getting what I wanted. I was working for my dad at the time, and he had a patient who was this, older woman, probably in her 90s, honestly. And she was a little bit crotchety and, would kind of say rude things here and there. And every time she was on the schedule or want to come up and talk to me, it was like a really long conversation. And I was like, how do I get out of this? But so, she's on the schedule and I'm like, oh, she's coming in today. So one day she came in and walked right up to me and she was holding a newspaper clipping and she handed it to me and she said, "This is an advertisement for a high school job and you should apply." I mean, it wasn't even like, "Oh, here, I got this for you." It was like she was telling me what to do. And I kind of just like, I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind of you," which it was. But then I kind of was just like, I wasn't giving it much of my attention. And then I was like, well, you know what? I'm like, I haven't gone on any interviews yet. I'll just go for practice. It was a school that, I had never heard of and was in a town that I like wasn't even really that familiar with. So I went to the interview just as practice, and it turns out that that is the job that I got, my first teaching job ever, and it ended up being the same school that I taught at for the next 16 years. And it was the best teaching job that I could have ever asked for. So again, you never know how things are going to come to you. And again, just staying open to the people that come into your life, even if, at first they might not seem like the ones who would be delivering this great message. Okay. So, after my tangent, we now have step 7 of how to manifest what you want, which is activate both your left and right brains so that you're super open and aware of opportunities when they are right in front of your face. Now, I say this because a lot of us get stuck in the logical mind, right? Making lists, we're looking at hard evidence around us. We're very left-brained a lot in our society. And so we need to incorporate our right brain and our creativity and movement and fun and play. And so a lot of times that comes in the form of art, like when you're doing a vision board, for example, you're being creative and you're cutting things out, pasting them. That's the creative side. So make sure that you're doing things that are utilizing both sides. One thing that I love to do lately is to create songs using AI for what it is that I'm trying to either um like transform in myself or manifest in like something physical. I will just like type in this quick little prompt and AI will create me a song and then I'll listen to it. And it really, really helps because you're not only hearing the words, but it's songs and music create a vibe, right? It's like you hear a certain song and immediately you're uplifted. For me, I chose dance songs, so I'm like dancing around in my car while I'm listening to these words, and so it creates this whole energetic experience. That is the word I'm looking for. This whole entire video, I want to tell you that manifesting is an experience. It's not just a cerebral thing that you do with your brain. Okay, step number 8 is to focus on the abundance that you already have with gratitude. So, particularly love if you're trying to attract more of it. Maybe the positives of your job or your career if you're trying to manifest change there. Maybe the current house or apartment that you live in, you're giving so much gratitude for the abundance that you already have. Even if you're like, I live in this tiny little, apartment and I don't have this and I don't have that. That's not going to get you anywhere. You need to give thanks for what you already have regarding your living space in order to attract the home that you really want. So do something that raises your vibe daily and stay in the energy of gratitude and abundance. Okay, step number 9 for manifesting what you want is wear and do things that make you feel powerful or something that is a symbol of your best qualities or a symbol of your dreams. Again, this is kind of in alignment with like staying in a high vibe and feeling good about yourself and about life. If you can have symbols that help you do that, for me, I love to wear bright colors. I like to think of myself as, a person who has a lot of light to share, and I like to wear bright clothing to help me feel that way. So that's just an example of a symbol. I also used to wear this red bracelet that had some beads on it, and each bead kind of represented a piece of my kind of self-transformation journey. And so when I would look at it, I would remind myself of how far I come. One bead kind of symbolized the past, one bead kind of symbolized the present, and one bead symbolized where I was going. And I was like, yeah, I am on a path, I'm on a journey, and that's okay. And so it was a symbol to just help me remember of where I wanted to go and the path that I'm on. Yeah, as far as a symbol, maybe it's even just like if you want to go to Paris, get a little Eiffel Tower and put it on your desk so that every day at work you look at it and you're reminded, like, yes, I'm manifesting Paris. One of my best friends would love that idea, and she actually has pictures of Paris all over her house because she loves it there and she goes there all the time. But anyway, another method again is a vision board. It's something that you can look at and remind you. It's a symbol of what you are trying to bring into your life. And then also, in Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural, he talks about how at his workshops, he has his people do mind movies, and they actually create a film, a movie that they can watch of the life that they want to be living. And so when you're watching that movie, you're just integrating it into your senses and you're integrating it in a whole different way that is more powerful than just, logic. Okay. Step number 10 of how to manifest is to celebrate when you've manifested your desire, or if you've achieved even a little step, celebrate every single one, because that raises your vibe, it brings about momentum, but it's also the time to not be humble about what you've accomplished. Truly acknowledge the hard work that you consistently put in day after day, the patience you had when it felt like what you want might not be coming or it was taking too long. Um, and also just kind of thinking about how you stuck with your practices, acknowledging that you are a powerful being and look where it's gotten you. Okay, so those are my 10 steps. That's my checklist to get what you want in 2025 and basically for the rest of your life. I am super curious to know what you are working on manifesting right now, how it's going for you, and I would love for you to leave me a comment below. If you need more clarity or help with this process on doing the inner work needed to bring in what you want in your life, then you can schedule a call with me to see if we would be a good fit to work together. The link is in the description. I'm only taking a small amount of one-on-one clients right now, so definitely see if scheduling something would work for both of us. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out the blog. And until next time, it is my pleasure to believe in you and to celebrate what you bring to the world. I'll see you next time.